Hello, CDF Freedom Schools. I am so happy to be here with you today during the 2022 CDF Freedom Schools National Training. I'm Theresa Venable. I'm the librarian in the Langston Hughes Library at CDF Haley Farm. And I can tell you that we here at Haley Farm will be so happy when CDF Freedom Schools National Training will be back at Haley Farm in person. We miss you. In the meanwhile, though, this Zoom format allows us to bring to you important parts of the program that we think are vital to the success of your tenure as Freedom Schools interns. Today, we're honored to have with us two of our authors whose books we use in the curriculum, and they're here to chat with us today during the Walter Dean Myers Authors Panel. Each year during national training, we honor author Walter Dean Myers, who wrote over 100 books for young people. We used many of his books in the curriculum, and he was a dear, dear friend to the Children's Defense Fund. He was here at Haley Farm on several occasions, and so we honor his memory and his legacy each year. We have two authors who have agreed to be with us today. They've come to share with us what helps them get those wonderful books written that we introduce to our scholars who enjoy their books so very, very much. The first author is Rita Hubbard. Rita, thank you so much for being here today with us. Rita has written, she's a retired special education teacher, first of all, for over 20 years, and she now champions unsung heroes whose stories need to be told with courage and heart. Her books, The Oldest Student, How Mary Walker Learned to Read, Hammering for Freedom, the William Lewis story, and African Americans of Chattanooga, a history of unsung heroes. Her books have garnered honors and awards, including the recent 2022 Texas Bluebonnet Award, the 2021 Crystal Kite, the New Voices Award, and the East Tennessee Historical Preservation Award. Rita has an advanced degree in school psychology, and owns and manages the Black History Channel. So we're very happy to have Rita with us today. Our next author is Kelly Starling Lyons. Kelly is a founding member of the Brown Bookshelf, teaching artist. Hello, Kelly. Thank you for being with us today. She's a teaching artist and award-winning children's book author. Her mission is to center Black heroes, celebrate family, friendship, and heritage, and show all kids the stories they hold inside. She has written more than 20 books for young readers that span from early readers to picture books and on to chapter books. Among her acclaimed titles are Caldecott Honor winner Going Down Home with Daddy, Geisel Honor Award recipient for Ty's Travels, Zip Zoom, Christopher Award winning Tiara's Hat Parade, and Sing a Song, How Lift Every Voice and Sing Inspired Generations, which was a Bank Street Best Book. Kelly lives in Raleigh, North Carolina, and was named to Good Morning America's 2021 Inspiration List. Who's Making Black History? So, today we're going to chat with our authors to find out what makes them tick to produce those wonderful, wonderful books that they have been producing that inspires so many young people. Again, thank you for joining us today. We're so excited that you're with us, excited to talk to you. This is the first question I'd like to ask you is where or do you remember where you first saw yourself in a book? Do you remember, Rita?
Unfortunately, no, I don't
No?
remember. Not through from elementary through high school and possibly through college. I don't remember seeing myself. I
Uh-huh.
see myself a lot now, but
Yes,
only in adulthood.
yes. And that's the tragic story of so many
Yes,
young people that don't
yes.
see themselves represented. Kelly, do you have a memory?
I do. I was in third grade, and Troll Book Club came to our school. And I love books about pretty much everything. I really love fantasy, about dragons, and um, superheroes, and I love science books. And flipping through the pages, and I saw a kind of book I hadn't seen before, and that book was Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. And
Mm,
without needing to even read the summary, I immediately wanted to buy that book and make it mine. Because for me, it was saying that I mattered and my family was important and
mhm,
our history deserved to be shared and passed on. And so when I really think deeply about where my path to write children's books came from, though I didn't realize it at that moment, I feel like
mhm.
it planted a seed in me, which later bloomed into my life calling.
Absolutely. And I bet your books have inspired many young people in the same way. Absolutely. That is so
Oh, thank
important.
you.
That is so important. Um, that's such a major stepping stone. Starting with very young, with babies, having books where they can see themselves or people that look like them, um, to help them, establish who they are and how they fit into
Right.
this big picture. The Roll of Thunder
I
here.
should note though, similar to I was gonna say I should note though, similar to Rita, the book in third grade, it wouldn't be until I was an adult working at Ebony magazine that I saw a second children's book with a black girl on the cover, which was
Mm,
Something Beautiful by Sharon Dennis Wyeth. So
yes.
I read lots of books by black authors, but they were adult books that I
Mm-hmm.
read in, high school classes and in college classes. But it wasn't until adult working at Ebony that I saw another children's book with a black girl on the cover, and
Mm-hmm.
and that was the book that made me start writing children's books.
Okay. I bet you lots of other people can resonate with your experience. Thank you for sharing that with us. Um, so both of you have written books about real characters. Rita, Miss Walker, tell us how did you find out about her story and how did you decide to write about her story?
Well, when I was in fifth grade, my class went on a field trip to the Mary Walker Foundation. It was a very small white house run by a private family. And I just remember being about 10 years old,
Mm-hmm.
going to that house on the field trip and hearing a tour guide say that she was once enslaved and that she was set free at 15, but she didn't learn to read until she was 116. And I did the math really quick in my head. I think I was an early math teacher from the time I was in fifth grade, but I did the math really quickly and thought that's 101 years. What
Mm-hmm.
in the world took her so long? So even though we moved on, I went on through high school and, of course, into adulthood. I never forgot her story. And when a philanthropist asked me to do some research on something else, I began to run into her name again. And I
Mm-hmm.
remembered, and I thought, I have got to find out what took her so long, and I've got to tell her story to the world, especially when I began to learn the details. what took so long was that life sort of got in the way. That's what
Mhm.
took so long. So I never forgot that. And my first opportunity, I sat down and wrote her story. I just wanted to inspire children to understand that no matter how long it takes, hopefully not 101 years, but no matter how long it takes, you
Mhm.
can achieve whatever your dream is. Just
Oh, that's just
keep
beautiful.
trying. Yes,
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Mm.
Now, is that foundation still? That's in Chattanooga, Tennessee, right?
it is.
Okay.
And you're asking, is it still around? Let
Hmm.
me say this: I'm very flattered and I'm honored. They were defunct until this book came out. After
Oh,
the book came
Mm.
out, they contacted me and told me they're going to revive it. They
oh,
want to
Oh,
make this an
that's
entire
wonderful.
educational program and inspire people all over the world.
that is so heartwarming. Wow. So
Well,
you with that book, you touched tentacles that you didn't even know you would be reaching.
absolutely, and I'm very grateful. I'm
Oh,
very grateful.
that is so inspiring.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for sharing that story. Kelly, are there any real life characters that have inspired any of your characters?
Yeah, I've been blessed to be able to write about some, heroes in history
Mhm.
and Black culture. The recent one that I wrote about was Coretta Scott King in the She Persisted series. And I was so honored to write about her because I think in school, when kids learn about the civil rights movement, it's often men who are centered. Dr.
Mhm.
King and John Lewis and Reverend Ralph Abernathy and men that were so groundbreaking and did such important things. But it's really important to remember that side by side were women every step of the way.
Mhm.
And so I love this opportunity to shine a light on the amazing Coretta Scott King, who was a composer and she was a singer and she
Mhm.
was an activist and a humanitarian and just did so many groundbreaking things in her own right, which I think sometimes get overshadowed. And she remains unsung in many ways. One of the
Mhm.
most inspiring things I read about her was how she did these freedom concerts all over the country to raise money for the movement, where she
Mm.
blended her personal experience with civil rights. It was almost like a diary and a classical performance and a poem all wrapped into one. And she'd be in these elegant gowns and telling these stories through her songs and raise thousands, tens of thousands of dollars for the movement. And I think that's just a testament to her vision and to her talent. And then someone else who really stands out is I have a picture book called Dream Builder, the story of architect Philip Freelon. And Mr. Freelon was the lead architect for the National Museum of African American History and Culture
Mhm.
in Washington, D.C. I live in Raleigh. He started his practice and raised his family in Durham. So I got a chance to
Mhm.
actually go to his house and hang out with him and talk with his wife Nina, who's a Grammy nominated singer and composer, and really have both of them fill me in on this journey of this kid who loved math and loved science and loved art to this person who built dreams not just for himself but for the whole nation. His
Mhm.
museum all over the country, from the Museum of the African Diaspora in San Francisco to the Center for Civil Rights in Georgia, the Mississippi
Mm.
Civil Rights Museum. And he has left such a beautiful legacy. And sadly, he passed away from ALS. But I feel like because he was part of this book every step of the way, it really is a gift for his spirit to be able to live on and to inspire kids today that, like Rita said, they can accomplish anything. And in his story, when he was younger, he struggled with reading. And so I think
Mhm.
that's such a great message for kids, that even when, you may feel like you're not getting it, or that you don't have the same kind of talent someone else does, that you are able to persevere, to soar, to use your own talents to make the world shine. And so that was a real blessing to be able to tell those two stories of Coretta Scott King and Phil Freelon.
Wow, I never knew that about Coretta Scott King. I knew she was a
Yeah.
gifted musician, singer, but I never knew that. So, oh, how wonderful that we're teaching children all these wonderful, giving them all this information and these tools to help them when they meet challenges, when they meet stumbling blocks, to think about some of these characters in your books and face those challenges and overcome them. Oh, keep on writing, keep on writing. We hope you write lots and lots of lots and lots more books. What's the most challenging part about being a writer? What's the most challenging thing that you face uh, being a writer? Rita, do you want to share with us?
Um, I would say, well, when I'm actually writing a nonfiction bio, the most challenging part is gathering the pieces of the puzzle and
Hmm.
putting them together. You never know how long that's going to take. I've been
Hmm.
fortunate in that sometimes it doesn't take very long, but I like to write about people who truly were unsung, who created something amazing or did something amazing and were just not heralded for it. So sometimes the challenge is finding the pieces of the puzzle, putting them together, and then after you find those pieces, figuring out what goes in the story and what goes in the back matter. Sometimes that's a big challenge. But I will say, personally, as a writer, one of the challenges that I face is I'm learning that sometimes the last thing a writer has time to do is write. There are so many other things to do. You're meeting people, um, especially the children want to meet you and talk with you and know your story. And you spend a lot of time, wonderful time, but you spend a lot of time networking. And
Hmm.
sometimes you have very little time to actually sit down and write. That's what I'm working on right now, getting back to the basics to writing. So those are my challenges.
Okay. Kelly, what are your challenges?
Like Rita, I mean, I have story ideas all the time. I love research, so I will research, all day long. I mean, probably over research. But then when it comes time to kind of figure out the thread you want to weave through the story, what shape is this going to take? What is the theme that you want to tell? That can take a while to figure out. You have this whole beautiful life, and you can't tell it all.
Hmm.
So, how do you figure out what part to focus on to be able to give the heart of who this person is, to be able to show agency, how they um, went from facing some kinds of struggles to accomplishing something, to be a model for kids as they're facing their own challenges. But that can take some time to figure out. And I think for me too, I have this internal pressure that I want justice to their stories. I
Hmm.
mean, these are people who deserve to not only have their stories told, but to have their stories told with care and with love. And so I think that comes as my own pressure on myself to make sure that I'm doing the best job that I can, and really giving readers a sense of who this person is. And then I think the other thing is once you've put your heart into stories, especially when, early in my journey, you put your heart into stories and then they're sent out into the world. And sometimes it can take years before you
Hmm.
find a home for those stories. So
Hmm.
it's really important to have faith. When I go to schools, I always tell kids there's three most important components to me of being a writer, and that's working hard, being creative, but the last one's most important, having faith. So no matter what an editor says, no matter how many no's you get, you have to know that you're doing this for a reason and your story will find a home. And that can be tough, especially when you're just starting and you're getting, no after no. Or and when I began to write, you would get rejection letters in the mail. But many publishers now have gone to no response means no,
Okay.
which is very difficult for people to send your baby into the world and not even know what they thought of it. So I think that is a challenge, especially for newer writers, but one that I still face today. I still get no's on stories and go back and work on them some. anymore. But I think that my fortitude has, definitely built up over the years, and I'm not deterred when I get a no. I just know that that yes is out there waiting for me.
That you're both of you have gone. Your answer kind of answered the next question because we have so many young people, so many of our interns, our servant leader interns, are aspiring writers, and
Hmm.
Alex Haley got lots of rejection
Yeah,
notices, yes, before he finally published the autobiography of Malcolm X. Um, so to our aspiring writers, I think you've already given them some advice about keep hanging in there and revising if you have to, but not giving up the dream. And Kelly, you said something in the introductory paragraph, like you had a part that said to to give young readers, to give kids, to show all kids the stories they hold inside. And
yeah,
wow,
and
that
and
really hit me.
thank you. Well, that's really the advice that I share most often. When I was early in my children's book journey, I went to a workshop at the Highlights Foundation, and editor Patty
Hmm.
Gouch gave a lecture that really spoke to me. And the advice that I wrote down in my notebook and kind of underlined it and triple underlined it was write the story only you can tell. And I think
Hmm.
it's so important for kids to understand that who they are is enough. It's more than enough. It's really everything. So, where they come from, whose they are, their family and their community and their faith home and their friends, and who they are, the challenges they've overcome, what their passions are. That's where the best writing comes from. So I think it's so important for kids to know that writing is not something that's only for an elite few, that all of us have stories inside that, and we all deserve to see ourselves on the page. And author Toni Morrison says, there's a book you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet. You should be the one to write it. So I want them to know that they are the best ones to tell their own stories.
Absolutely. Thank you for that advice. We all need to hear that because all of us have stories inside. But I
Yeah.
think another important thing is uh, some young people think, well, you can sit down and write that story and boom, I'm done. And write that book, but it takes lots and lots of revisions and
It
editing and
does.
to get it just right. You know what you want to say, but you got to be able to say it in a way that whoever your audience is, whoever you're speaking to, that they can garner that. Great advice, great advice. I know that we'll have lots of our interns who will be taking that to heart. Absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
What writers influence you? What writers do you read? What books? Are there any authors that you kind of go to when you are looking for a certain kind of story, or your favorite authors? What authors inspire you? Rita?
Um, well, first of all, I am just an avid reader, and I love everything from picture books to I love romances. I'm going to admit it. Uh, I admit that. And of course, all sorts of nonfiction books. But one of my favorite children's book authors is Christopher Paul Curtis. I'm trying to remember. I think the name of the book was Bud, Not Buddy.
Mm-hmm.
It really moved me to just to see how he got into the head of I guess he was a tween, a, not quite a teenager yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really loved his writing, uh, especially Maya Angelou. I love her
Mm-hmm.
and all the things she wrote. Actually, I'm just an avid reader, and I just read books of all kinds. There's a book that I've been looking over, and it's really not even a book, it's a compilation of all of the movies that African Americans have been in since film came into existence. It's called A Separate Cinema. the
Mhm.
first 100 years of Black poster art. Now they're talking about poster art, but they go into the concept and the psychology of the movies that
Okay.
were being done at that time. This book, I wish I had brought it in here with me, but it's an oversized book, has
Mhm.
every poster in it, and I just get the sense of the mindset of the time, not only of the mindset about African Americans, but those who responded, those filmmakers who responded and portrayed a positive light. So I just like all types of books. I can't really name um, a favorite author. If it's a
Mhm.
good book and it's well written, you've got my attention.
Okay. Gotcha. Kelly, who are your inspirational authors?
Yeah, well, I would say definitely Sharon Dennis Wyeth, that I mentioned earlier, Something Beautiful. I think that book showed me what picture books could be and what they could do. I had
Mhm.
never seen a book like that was so de- deceptively simple. It's about a little
Mhm.
girl who learns the word beautiful in school, goes around her community looking for beauty, and ends up learning that she can create it and it lives inside of herself. And that has inspired me so much that we could use books as agents to help kids know that they're agents of change and they have the power to transform any situation, that they're heroes to themselves and to one another. So definitely that was a formative book. My favorite children's book author is Jacqueline Woodson. Fell in love with her books. First one I read of hers was Visiting Day, which,
Mhm.
like Something Beautiful, just that sense of social justice, the love between the daughter and the father who's in jail. But I love how she showed him, like any dad who loves his daughter. And I think that's so important because we have kids who have parents that are in incarcerated and they deserve to be seen
Mhm.
and heard and know that they matter too. So that was really special. My all-time favorite picture book is probably her book Coming on Home Soon, illustrated by E.B. Lewis. I just love, I use many of her books as mentor texts, in terms of how she, is so lyrical. She boils things down to their essence. She really puts so much meaning into every scene that she writes, but particularly with Coming on Home Soon, thought the way that she makes you feel how the girl's missing her mother is just
Mhm.
so real. As you're reading it, really she draws on all of your senses, the smell of the mother, and the way her hand touches her hair, and just I think that just taught me so much that I've tried to put into my own. I also have to give tribute to Wade and Cheryl Hudson, who saw
Mhm.
something in me early on, who published my first two books and remain mentors. We
Mhm.
often say that there are a literary mom and father. Many of us say that, and that's true. They just look out for us, they nurture us, they celebrate us, push us forward. And then I also will lastly mention Pat McKissick, who I was
Mhm.
honored to have her as my mentor when I was at Highlights, and who remained a friend. And I love just the body of her work. I mean, she had probably 100 plus
Mhm.
titles and touched so many different topics, from
Mhm.
supernatural to realistic to
Mhm.
historical to easy readers to picture books to chapter books. And so I just love all the ways she showed the breadth and depth of who we are. So those are just some of the. I mean, like Reed, I could go on and on and on. Being part of the Brown Bookshelf, I get to celebrate people every year and throughout the year. But those are some that are top of mind.
The books that you were naming, I can see exactly where they are on the shelves in the library, and
Oh,
some of those have been uh, Freedom School's favorite books. And yes, oh, Patricia McKissick is a or she was a Tennessee homegirl. She was. We
yeah.
celebrated her. Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, she was amazing. Oh,
Yes,
I'm sorry, I should mention one other person, Eleanor Tate. So when I
yes.
first moved to Raleigh, I wanted to write children's books. And I said, let me find somebody in my area who writes them. And so I just looked her up and reached out to her, and she met me.
Oh,
And she was,
wow.
she was tough. She asked me some questions I had none of the answers to. So she let me know I needed to do my research. And
Mm-hmm.
she started me off by studying Coretta Scott King winning books. And I'll, always be grateful for how
Mm-hmm.
she kind of laid a blueprint for me to make sure I was steeped in the history of Black children's literature and knew, whose shoulders I'm standing on.
Yes. Oh, wow. That's so powerful. Powerful. You have had great mentors. Yes, you have.
Yes.
Yes, you have. So, what what current? Uh, can you tell us any current projects you're working on? Books or other projects related to writing? Are you working on any books, Rita? Are you working on anything new?
Well, I am. I have two historical PBs that are with picture books that are with my agent right now. But I also write middle grade novels, and I have a historical middle grade that is being, well, how should I put this? Highlights for Children gave me a scholarship
Mm-hmm.
to work with some editors on the historical whole novel workshop. And I have entered one of my novels. I call it The Man Who Saw Everything. That may not be the final title, but it's called The Man Who Saw Everything, and it is fiction, but it's based on the true story of a man who died 8 days before his 123rd birthday,
Oh,
and
wow.
all the things he
Mm.
saw, all the ways our world changed right before his eyes. So I'm
Mm.
working on that right now.
Mm, that sounds quite interesting.
He was amazing, and what he saw was amazing
I
also.
bet.
Mhm.
That's a long span.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Kelly, what are you working on any projects? Of course.
So I just had a book. Yes, I just had a book that came out last week, and it's a picture book called My Hands Tell a Story, and it's about a grandmother and granddaughter who are baking cinnamon bread. That's the story on the surface, but it's really about all the things her grandmother's hands have done, and she wonders what her hands will do one day, and discovers the power in her hands. So that one
Yeah.
just came out, and then this summer, I have a Jada Jones chapter book series,
Okay.
and Jada has a friend named Miles who, like her, loves science. And so we have a spin-off series starting this summer about Miles. And the
Oh,
first book is called King of the Ice, and it has a nod to Black history and hockey. So that book series will be coming to everybody. I also do the Ties Travels Easy Reader series, and I have a
okay.
Christmas based tie coming at the end of the year. So lots of things
Okay.
on the way. One I'm looking forward to next year. I can't say who it is, but I can say that it is my biggest hero from my hometown of Pittsburgh, and I'm so excited to share this story when it comes out.
Okay. Okay. Well, you ladies are busy, busy, busy. That is, please keep those wonderful stories coming our way. We need lots of good books like the ones you write to introduce to the children in our Freedom Schools program. We introduce books to children to help them fall in love with books and with reading. And with the kinds of books that you are writing, that will be an easy, easy task. We appreciate so much your time today, and we look forward to when you will be able to visit Haley Farm, visit the Langston Hughes Library. Rita, you're right down the road, so you can get here quickly.
I'm coming.
Great. Thank you so much. I can't tell you how much we appreciate this time to chat with you and get to know you and look forward to meeting you in person. And your books, some of your books are here in the Langston Hughes Library, but we want to make sure that we have all of them. So I'll be contacting
Well,
you
thank
later
you.
about that. Okay. Thank
Thank
you
you so much,
again.
and thanks for all you do.
We enjoyed talking with you so much and look forward to meeting you in person.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Our
Yeah,
pleasure.
thank you.